Welcome, 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 welcome. Hey, y'all. I'm going to give folks a few minutes to get in here. Come on in the room. And today I am playing tunes from Jamila Woods called Holy. Come on in the room. Not going to be on long. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you can share on your side, that would even be better. I'm not lonely. I'm alone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to talk about these tolerations. Some of you all asked. I want to answer. Come on in the room. I can't even find my phone. So let me jump up real quick to grab it just in case I need to facilitate some Facebook stuff. So let me do that. Ready? Okay. Woke up with my mind set on loving me. Woke up with my mind set on loving me. All right, so we're going to get started. I'm not going to wait on everybody to get in here. So I want to share with you. Listen, come on now, y'all got to get on in the room. get on in the room so we can make this worth our while. Let's see if we can get. Okay, I'm gonna add my general page. So anywho, let me just jump right on in, everybody, just for the sake of time. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I took a little break last week because I totally needed it. And during that time, I've had so many conversations. Let me turn off my beloved jam session right here. First of all, I hope everybody's doing well. How are you? I'm great, grand, and wonderful. Thanks for asking. So listen, I've been in some amazing conversations and that have made me pause and digest and share this with our community because everybody is looking for tools to deal with the new season that we are in, right? We've already talked about blooming. We've already talked about rebirthing, resurrection, and all of that, but it's not just talk. And so as you get ready to move out and open into the world, the question that I ask you is your heart open? Are you open fully? And so those of you who don't know me, I'm LaTanya Taylor, affectionately known as the Rev Coach, the Juicy Spirit Mama, the Priestess of Purpose, Pleasure, and Passion. And for the last couple of years, I have now transformed into really a mindset midwife for those who are new entrepreneurs and new in business and spiritual business owners, creatives, empaths who are looking to really move from just being in service just because you love it and not receive any in repayment, investment, or continue the struggle narrative in your particular gift set. I have programs, I have private coaching, and for those of you who are interested in having your story told, I will definitely be looking for some of you to tell your story, share your story in other projects as well. So that being said, let's talk about these tolerations really quickly. It's a coaching term. It's a coaching term, and I have a story that I could tell you about tolerations. Let me know you're in the room. Say hello. Talk to a sister. Don't be rude. Act like you got some manners. You know, when you come into the room, let people know. And you know, you speak to people when you come in. So I spoke to you. Let me know how you're doing. Okay. I asked on a Facebook post, do you all know what tolerations are? A lot of you said, one person said you did, another person said no, but I'm interested. Hey, sweetheart. And I want to talk about these tolerations because it's a spiritual psychology term that applies to leadership when you are a leader. This is a leadership conversation, and many of you are leaders in your own right, in your own world. Could we agree? You may be a leader in your family. You may be a leader on a team. You may be a leader just by even when you're solo, you think like a leader. You move like a leader. You initiate like this is not really a conversation that followers would just adapt to if you're just a follower. However, if you've been a person who has followed all the rules, who goes by the book and that type of thing. If you are that, oh, greetings on YouTube. It's all right, spiritual warrior checking in. Salute to you, deep bow warrior. I hope you're enjoying this round of the spiritual warrior training as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. That being said, I want to keep going on tolerations because some of us have them and we don't know what they are or what to do with them. I had them and I didn't know what to do with them. But I had a master coach who trained me how to be a master coach as well. And so I want to take this moment and this opportunity to drop a little nugget into your soul, into your spirit, and into your toolbox. Most of all, can I come a little closer? This is for your toolbox because tolerations are often hidden. When I talk about tolerations, I'm not talking about tolerating. When you start to do transformational work, there are tools and terms that sound the same as tools and terms that you went to school. I don't know about you, but I went to school and I had to look up words in the dictionary. It was one of my favorite things to do. And I think that's why I excelled in English and I excelled in language arts, storytelling, and certainly later on in ministry when it comes to my study habits. And so if you're not a person who doesn't like words, then you may not be able to relate to what I'm saying. But if you do, understand that I'm not talking about the common use of words, the Merriam-Webster dictionary use. We have to go beyond the Merriam-Webster dictionary. We have to go beyond when you choose to in transformation. In your own transformation, even as you are becoming, even as you are transforming. That's a good word right there. And we're in a season and in a climate where we're all going to have to look at our tolerations. And a lot of people look at tolerations from a victim point of view, because when we look at what we've been tolerating, then what do you tolerate? It's something you put up with. Yes. It's something that you oftentimes don't like, but you tell yourself a story, a narrative, or whatever the case may be, and you put up with it, so to speak. Yeah. You with me? And so that's not the definition that I'm talking about, but it does kind of build from there. If you understand what I'm saying, it builds from there. Tolerations are oftentimes hidden in our psychology because we wear masks sometimes to perform. In other words, who you show up at work as may not be who you are at home. Who you show up in church or in service, in your sorority, it's not the same thing. Sometimes we don't even show up even inside our nuclear family the same way when all family members are present. Like you could be a part of something, but you may not necessarily be of it, so to speak. Can you relate to what I'm saying? Do you all know what tolerations are before I just start running my mouth? I want to know, are you all familiar with the term? Because I want to make sure I got the right folks in the room, because you may not be interested in it. Let me know if this can work for you, particularly as Your people are evaluating their life right now, who they're going to be around, what does it, who, especially if you have been afraid of, or you have been in a position where you've been ill, you've lost a loved one to illness. Come on, talk back to me. How many of you want to know a little bit more about these tolerations? Okay, well, if y'all not responding, if y'all not gonna tell me, I'm gonna tell you anyway. But I'm not gonna be as long as when I know that this is something that you are looking to have some understanding. Tolerations oftentimes also are connected to tolerance, right? And so what we start to engage is a conversation about being more of something. Oh, I know I need to be more patient. Oh, I need to pray more. Oh, I need to do this. I need to do that. These are ways that sometimes we tolerate, and we don't even know that we are tolerating certain things in the way that we do. So so can I break it down? I thank you, Sister Sheila, for saying tell me more. When you are a high achiever, or when you are goal focused, or when you are growing, sometimes your wound is making more decisions for you than you may be aware of. Your wound, your trauma, or your coping mechanism may be making maybe working oftentimes when you're not even aware of it. Okay. And so when we talk about tolerations, I remember when I had just experienced something traumatic with a significant other. And my master coach gave me about a day to be upset. And he taught me this because he knew I was ready for it at the time. And because he had already taught me on victim consciousness, somebody put victim consciousness in the chat. He had already taught me on victim consciousness. Okay. And when he taught me about victim consciousness, I didn't know that it would show up when I felt the most like a victim. And not only that, he was teaching me new spiritual technology. So what he was getting ready to do was interrupt my pattern of victim consciousness, even if it is popular. I want you to get that. Even if victim consciousness is popular, even if victim consciousness is in the collective, it is a choice sometimes whether we go there. Now, of course, we all have moments in our life where we felt like we had no power, no control, no choice. But a lot of times we actually do have choice, but do we have courage to access the choice, to apply the choice? And that was the turning point of me learning about tolerations. One of the things he had to teach me, and I'll have to do this privately, or maybe in our next 21-day process, where I had to learn what my racket was. How many of you all know about rackets? Racket is basically how your coping mechanism shows up through and as your personality. Now, your personality is, somebody says, well, we all have a unique personality. Yes, we do. But your personality is not you. Your personality sometimes is a persona that you've taken on. So, for instance, I don't want to. I'm tempted to use a heavy one, because a heavy one is where I came in the understanding of it, but everybody is not necessarily prepared. So let's just say Love and relationships, because that's where I got my lesson. Love and relationships. And you're in a situation where you don't like what you're experiencing. And you have this spiritual technology and this spiritual understanding. So in your use of your spiritual understanding, technology, or whatever reasons you give to yourself why you do what you do or respond to circumstances of your life a certain way. And are y'all with me? Is this too heavy? I'm trying to lay this thing out so you can find your tolerations. Are you with me? Sheila, you still there? I love the eager, honey. Because what that does is it becomes a relationship, a partnership for us of sharing. It's not just me telling in this, we're having a conversation. So I went through you know, as I look at myself and constantly always challenge myself, the goal of your tolerations is to help you to be able to spot them where they're hidden, so that you no longer are put in positions where you don't want to be in, or positions where you end up by default. I think that's good right there. Default positions. All of us have default positions that we hold, or positions that we go to. So how you can spot what you've been tolerating, settling for, what you've been compromising or negotiating with yourself about, when you know you deserve more, when you know you desire more, when you know that you are called to something higher, bigger, more expansive. It's the game that you play and tell yourself a story about it that does not empower you, your God self. It's empowering the victim consciousness. And before you know it, it's easy to go back to the default position, which also is called being on automatic. Some of us are on automatic. Survival mode will keep you on automatic. In an employee mindset, which is not a bad thing if you are consciously choosing to demonstrate your purpose and your gifts as an employee, which I certainly have had some wonderful opportunities to work with networks that I didn't know that I would ever work with. And here we are, So when you look at this idea of us now, I'm trying not to say these keywords that are flagged right now, because information is being flagged. Profiles are being shadow banned, and truth is certainly being censored. Okay. And our relationship with truth varies based off of your mindset. And mindset only is not meant to stay there. It's just like a temperature. You move the gauge basically based off of how you need to respond, not just be comfortable. Come on now. Not just be comfortable. But our minds get set in a position about what's happening in our life, or around our life, or with the people in our life, based off of the fixed position. First question is, are you willing to shift? That means move the gauge a degree down, a degree up. Are you willing to shift? When you find yourself in circumstances and situations where you're taking a strong position, you oftentimes are not willing to shift. You believe that you're right and somebody else is wrong. And therefore, it's easy to stay in victim consciousness when someone is wrong by the standards that the culture has set, by the politics that we know, And oftentimes the politics or policies that we don't know anything about is controlling our mindset. I'm not here to debate politics and your position and your classifications. I'm not here. And let me tell you why. I was talking to a family member about being neutral. Can you be neutral? This is a second point, in terms, not a second step, but a second point in terms of your fixed position about what you believe or what you think is right and who you think is wrong and what you are afraid of and what you love. I like to use right and wrong when we're looking at a graph of the ends of a spectrum, right being on one end, wrong being on another end, fear being on one end, love being on another end. And in the middle, we're always trying to find that balance, the balancing act. Because it doesn't mean when we're talking about fear, it doesn't mean that you won't have fear about things, about life, even right now, about the current health status of humanity. The health status of humanity has some people in fear, afraid to connect, afraid to be around anyone. Not only that, the reason why I'm having this conversation is there is a lot of anxiety on the planet. And anxiety is about control. Anxiety is about feeling like you are able to be in control and when you feel like you're not in control. And not only that, anxiety is about the story you're telling yourself about the future or about the past. You are not present. So the second point to be able to spot, not only are you fixed, but you're not really present. You're so far focused in the future, you're still stuck in the past, meaning what keeps us stuck in the past are old stories, emotions, and those old positions that no longer serve when a new energy is on the planet, or a new energy is in you, or you're called to a new energy. I didn't mean to wear the same color shirt as my hair, but hey, it worked out like that today. Just I'm taking a moment with myself. And so when we look at this, right, it's easy, to start drawing lines, fall out, shut down, or think that your symptoms of anxiety, depression, fight, anger, judgment you think that your symptoms are responses to what's happening versus what you're thinking about what's happening or the person and people involved in what's happening. Feel me? So the third thing is to spot is in terms of being able to see your hidden tolerations is you may be doing one thing, but inside you know that you're not satisfied, you're not satiated, you're not fulfilled, not just happy. Happy is a temporary feeling, and we use it far too fragrantly, because I like to coach and to invite people to joy, to pleasure. Y'all know that. Why do I do that? Because many of us, you've heard me teach this before, have high thresholds for pain and low thresholds for our pleasure, for our joy, and what it takes to sustain it, not just have these temporary moments. And that's why pleasure gets such a bad rap, because when it's based off of temporary or escapism or avoidance, then pleasure turns into pathology, because you can find pleasure in things that are intended to give you pleasure or to give you healing and medicine. For instance, let's say plant medicine. Well, this government, these people are now having to change laws, right? Let's talk about marijuana. This is a good segue to give an example. This way I don't have to talk about the C word, I don't have to talk about the E word and get flagged. But remember a day where you would talk about marijuana, cannabis, weed, whatever, smoking, whatever the case may be, and it would be flagged, particularly if you were in the South. Some of you know what I'm talking about, where it was demonized. It was called a drug. People were called drug addicts who smoked weed. I know, because I never used when I was so young. I was so afraid of it. Okay. Then and so now we've had so many instances where laws have been made against something to demonize something. Well, that's not new to humanity. This has been happening since the early church, when they didn't understand tribes that could not be controlled, that tribes that weren't going to pay the taxes because they were free, they were sovereign, they were governing themselves, and they were using spiritual law, spiritual language, accountability in these small tribes. And many of us know what that is, because we are village people. We come from villages. All of us come from these small nuclear spaces. But all those nuclear spaces represent a mindset that you are going to have to meet and ask yourself, is it sustaining me? Is it moving me forward to the vision I see, to the calling on my life, to the creativity in my hands, in my mind, in my mouth, in my heart, in my work, in my dance, in my play, in my household? Am I too serious? Am I settling for certain things? And so here's where I'll close, with my story. Thank you for the compliment. A lot of people know that, yeah, I'm a teacher, I'm a coach, Rev coach. And then when you start working with me, some people love the mama energy, and some people unconsciously don't like mama energy, or don't trust mama energy, big mama energy, authoritative energy, or directive energy. This is another good example. I wanted to use cannabis in the big example, but I now want to close out really quickly on us personally. Just because you are, and I have felt so called to those who are awakened or embracing their own journey of transformation, healing, reinvention, rebirth. I have felt so called to you, because I've been in your shoes of feeling like I know something, I want to share it, and I can't, or I'm rejected, or I'm called names. I've been through all of that in my own family. I've been through all of that in my own circles. And for me, I'm trying to think of a great way to explain how tolerations can show up, as simple as possible for me to get on out of here. Because you want to get some more. This is just an appetizer today, and I feel like I've already been talking a lot, just trying to explain these concepts, because I understand a lot of people like to be inspired, because we have a church mindset, so we want to come and get a word, but we don't want to take the word and apply it. They say faith comes by hearing, but there is an application process of what you hear. And that's why they say faith without works is dead. And we are living in a zombie culture where people are just following the rules, attacking other people, jumping on bandwagons of whatever's common and popular. And so now when you are the one that stands up for yourself, for your family, to make a choice that does not go along with, that does not just conform, where do you find your place of refuge? I've been saying we all need to tribe up, get around people, like minds, that grow you, challenge you, and move you more along the needle than staying stuck in toleration, settling for what life throws at you, settling for who's already there, because you're afraid that if I don't accept this, then what will I have? So there are, I know for me, I'll be honest with you, because a lot of times I understand the psychology of bad behavior, I have accepted it sometimes from clients. And that will affect your money. It will also affect how you feel about the thing that you are called to do and the thing that you are gifted to do. I have accepted poor behavior from family members, thinking that if I love them, if I explain it to them, me and my girl was talking because we with this whole turning 50 thing is, I don't know, something is happening with a lot of us. A lot of us are shedding and cutting cords and finding our voice again, and just looking at life totally different in terms of what we are moving towards. And so ironically, one of my girlfriends who I had not talked to in a long time, she was saying, yeah, she said, girl, the way I'm celebrating my birthday is that she said, I'm only making a priority for those who make me a priority. And I was like, yes, because for years, let me give you, so here's a good way to close out. Because I had a fear of abandonment that was triggered by or buried through the very beginning of my little girl self experiencing the divorce, I would always overcompensate in all of my relationships, either to be present, to call, to show up, to explain, to share, sometimes overshare, sometimes overexplain, sometimes overgive. And sometimes it would not return to me the way that I gave it out. And any of my friends can tell you, I don't care what you think about me or what you heard about me. I'm just, depending on your source, when they knew you, people may not even know who you are now. So even that, we sometimes will make accommodations for people to catch up to your growth. You don't owe anybody that. And so the solution really quickly is, once you start making a new choice, just like I gave you 3 ways to spot it, I want to give you 3 ways to check in on yourself. You can make a new choice. Number 1. Choice is the pivot point. It is the way for you to and you don't have to be totally forgiven, totally clear, know all the information for you to make a new choice. Right now, while you're listening, you can make a choice today. You can make a choice today. Say, I choose not to feel another moment, another day, a day of whatever this is. Now you can explore it, you can process it, you can move around it, but you can get still, you can meditate, you can do all of those things. But whatever you do, make a new choice. Choice is not based off of anything. When you oftentimes, many of us are making decisions, not choices. That's a deeper teaching as well. It's a technique. Many of us think that we're making choices, but we're really making decisions. Choices come from an independent place, from a free place, from a decision inside of me. I don't have to know why this doesn't feel good, tastes good, why I don't choose this anymore. Now, I'm not talking about escaping, running from fight or flight. So that's one thing. So then the second thing is, you have to be willing to, or gain a tool to interrupt your own patterns. Most of us spend so much time trying to belong, trying to be understood, that we really are trying to interrupt other people's patterns and not spending enough time trying to interrupt our own. So just like I said, I've been in conversations. I was talking to a family member about this whole C word and the new E word, and the family member asked me some questions, but did not like what they heard, and proceeded to be disrespectful. And I have been tolerating disrespect for years. And I had explained, the third thing is, we have to learn the art of communication and response, not reaction. Response, not reaction. My question to you, are you responding or are you reacting to what's happening in your life? When you are responding, you've done research, researching yourself. You know what you're talking about yourself. I'm not talking about being right. I'm not talking about listening to respond to someone, rushing to respond, versus like literally inside there's a knowing that I know that I know that I know. But that comes from spiritual work. That comes from the inner work. That comes from a lived experience. But even your lived experience has an expiration date because times are constantly changing. My mother's lived experience is not my lived experience. Therefore, her references to things are not going to be the same. Someone younger than me, their lived experience is not going to be my lived experience. So rather than be in situations where we just tolerating, and then when a blow up happens, or when a breakdown happens, or disappointment happens, whether it be we're disappointed in our money, disappointed in our relationships where we have our heart invested, where no matter the case, what the case may be, when we reach that point, instead of reacting, we have an opportunity to respond. And so I have been telling this family member, like, listen, like, you cannot continue to talk to me this way, make those judgments, or always assume the worst just because you don't agree with my freedom. Straight up. And this was also someone younger, much younger. So I know we have a code in our family about respect for elders. And I recognize my tolerations out of love. Do you know that you can be operating in your tolerations in the name of love, in the name of God, in the name of the beliefs? I have talked to so many women who have stayed in marriages, abuse, relationships, disenfranchisement, jobs, over because you didn't believe that something better was possible. So I just want to leave you today with the glass is half full if you position yourself to receive the overflow. I believe that it's more than half full, but basically on that statement. And you don't have to tolerate in the name of light work, love, in the name of a cause, being disrespected, dismissed, put down, or there's ways to have a conversation with your families about how you're going to be around each other and respect people's boundaries. This is a greater conversation about boundaries. I don't need you to be like me for me to love you. I don't need you to be in the same political party for me to honor you, to hear you, to have a conversation with you, because I'm a lifetime learner. And any moment, even though I may not agree, I have had the biggest breakthroughs by entering into contrast on situations, circumstances, information that I thought I held a position in and about regarding myself or regarding something bigger. We're making ourselves sick because we're fighting the future or fighting a past, and we're not present right here, right now, for the love that is available, for the light that is available, for the new information that is available, for the healing that is available. But if you are letting the news, if you are letting the current climate, your concerns about your livelihood, or any of that now inform how you respond to people, cutting people off, shutting people down, blocking, shutting down, all of this stuff that we do. But there is a certain point where when you've done all that you know you can do in love, and you've communicated your boundaries, there's a time and a point where you got to say deuces. I get that more now. And I'm less apologetic about being in energy or being around energy that is meant and feeds my own fears, my own generational patterns that I'm trying to break in myself. There's certain things I will not do any longer in this new season that I'm in. Is it just me? But make sure that when you're making that choice or decision, that you are doing it from the full place. And sometimes that means you may need to get empty. How do you get empty? You make a decision, a choice to shift on purpose. I like to close out with shift, meaning your spirituality, your health, your intimacy, Your finances and your time, talents, or tithe. When you shift everything, you start with one thing. When you line up dominoes, you only need to hit one. Sometimes all of them won't fall, but enough of areas of your life will be affected by your choice to rebirth daily. That's why Paul says, I die daily. So the version of yourself that you have known before 2020, is it the same? I'm asking you a question. Is the version of yourself, because if it's the same, this message may not be for you. But some people went through 2020 and went into a cocoon period, and now you are coming out ready to spread your wings, be born again. But the cocoon season requires a chrysalis. There's a melting down that happens in that cocoon. The planet is having meltdowns. People are having meltdowns. Your meltdown may not be a bad thing. Your meltdown just may be your chrysalis for the breakthrough, for you to push, for you to change into another creature, to go from one form of being that's low vibrational energy, that's very close to the root chakras, to the lower chakras, to transform, to go and wrap yourself into a silk web that will secure you in the moment that you're transforming. See, you have to have a safe place. The butterfly came from a safe place to be able to be ugly. There's an ugly part of transformation. And it's not really ugly. What I mean by ugly is that the way you look is not the way that it's not your final version. And be willing to be born again and again and again and again. So I always say, Dig, I'm going to get in here and I'm just going to talk for 15 and 20 minutes. And then look, it's double time with me teaching and explaining. I'm that teacher, teaching and explaining. But sometimes we're going to have to do some other stuff, some rooms. And so we can talk back. Was this helpful to you? Because I've been hearing, there have been prayer requests. There are people who are grieving. There are people who have had anxiety. I've had some hidden anxiety that I had to from good things, by the way. Good things, expansion, growth can produce anxiety. Okay? So I'm just saying to you, there's so much going on the planet. And there are people who have been isolated and literally haven't even been outside breathing air. And their mind is affected by that. Consider the source before you react today. Consider the source of your information and ask yourself, is the source of my information coming from a full place, from a divine place, from a place of love? Or is it coming from a place of fear and control and judgment and shame or guilt? Well, most of your news is coming from that place, and you all are letting them scare you to death and scare you away from family members, even in the face of life. You are living. You hear what I'm saying to you? You are alive today. Even if you're not tomorrow, you can't let that scare you. You're here today. What do you have the courage to do for yourself to shift? What do you have the courage to ask questions? Sometimes anxiety is produced by not asking the right questions, not waiting on the answer to come. Sometimes anxiety or worry and breakdown is produced by non-communication. Because many of us don't want to hear what somebody else has to say and take it offensively. We don't have to even do that. Get to the neutral place. That's where self-mastery lives. It's when you can be in a space and you don't have to choose to be any of it. Not on a fence. It doesn't mean you're on a fence. I'm talking about in your core, the space, the 0 point, where there is no right and wrong, where there is no good and bad. There just is. There is. I know that might be too deep for some people who want to stay on the surface, but for my deep divers in here, You feel me? It's time to shift. The information is there. It's also in the description. And and trust me, the 21-day process is about to open really soon. It's something you can do over and over again at any point. And I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you want to coach with me, my calendar is currently open, and it is going to be closing again for private clients. But I also have group programs. I'm doing consulting, and I'm also still working on telling stories and sharing stories on your TV screen. All right. So I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Don't forget to watch Iyanla Fix My Life this week. If all goes well, if I could just be still enough, if I could sat my down somewhere sometimes and when I sit down, not go to sleep, I want to plan a watch party. If you're interested in a watch party, put watch party in here. And I'm only going to do a watch party with a few people who are interested, because I want to know your reactions. I think my show is going to be the next show coming up. Although I did have the privilege of working on the Lisa Ray show. How many of you watched the Lisa Ray show? Remember, this painting came from that show. Remember, go back and watch the show and see. And the artist is Cole Whitlock. She did it on set. This painting came from that. How many of you remember that? I'm going to invite you to the watch party then. And we're going to do it privately. I want you to make sure you have access, because you may have to watch it on your screen while I'm watching it. And then on the commercials, we'll debrief, and then we'll debrief, of course, afterward. Or would you like to watch the show and then come in and debrief? I don't know. I want to hear your feedback. I'm going to do what works for our community. Okay. Yeah, I'm so proud of that work. Y'all, we started talking about that show on a long ride in the back seat of a car. Well, I was in the back seat. Iyanla was in the front seat driving. And that show, the way it developed, oh, so much. I don't want to keep talking about that part, so I'll save it. But please make sure, if you're new to LaTanya, if you're new to Rebirth, if you're new to your own rebirth, you might as well check out the preview. You have nothing to lose. It's free. And we also have a free community. Thank you, Sheila. I appreciate you letting me know that. I want to be helpful. I want someone to find themselves better, because I came on and went over an additional 20 minutes by what I said. But not just that. Get in community. Connect with me. Connect with us. It's not just me. And I'm looking forward for you to meet some of my friends really soon in some conversations. I love you, y'all. There's nothing you can do about it. I still talk too long today. Chat later.